of Kelvin, because he's also connected to some upstream ISPs, and then through Kelvin only the traffic gets to you, right?
So I, if you don't mind,
oh, yeah,
what
go
it
ahead.
was in 1996,
Okay,
I'm going to tell you
yes.
the story of Sri Lanka. When in somewhere in 96, there were a few ISPs in Sri Lanka at that time. One was Lanka Internet. The other one was, now today Lanka Internet is no longer here. So it was the very first internet service provider which actually connected commercial internet at that time. So 95 May 26th is the date where officially Sri Lanka got connected to the commercial internet. That was done by Lanka Internet. Then the telecom also, the Sri Lanka SLT also internet service provider. Subsequently, Dialog also came somewhere in 98, 99, I think. So the somewhere in 96 and 97 and 98, if I am a client of Lanka Internet, and then let's say another somebody like University of Colombo is a client of Sri Lanka Telecom, right? So if I want to go to a site or the resource on a server on the Lanka Internet, I have to go to the United States, because that's where the major ISPs there, like AT&T. They go there and then come to the Sri Lanka Telecom. They are international ISP, and then to Sri Lanka, right? So it's like we are sending our packets through United States, and we are actually basically what we are doing is we are paying for that traffic. So at that time we had this issue. So without the internet exchange, that you can't talk, these different ISPs could not talk to each other. So in 90, at that time, the SINTEC was the apex body, like ICTA. So there was a committee called Internet Committee of SINTEC. So we all got together, decided to have an internet exchange in Sri Lanka. At the same time, you had the bank, the IX. So for the banks, the ATMs. So the ATM, now today you can go to any ATM and you can get the money, right? Those days you could not do that. So BOC had its own ATM machines, and that network was not connected to Sampath Bank. The Sampath Bank was the very first one to come up with. So then the other, you could not take money from different ATMs. So that during the same time, we set up the very first bank exchange, IX. That was done at that time. Then came the LISPA. LISPA is the organization of ISPs, right? At that particular point, I'm saying easier, but anyway, I'm just telling you the history. What happened? The association, yes. At that point, Sri Lanka Telecom decided not to be part of, right, have internet exchange. At that particular point, the first point, right? I'm just telling you the first point. There were a lot of discussions because they were the largest. Sri Lanka Telecom was one of the largest. So they decided, no, we can be an IX, right? So they didn't want to. But then, so others got together. We formed what we call the very first internet exchange. That was somewhere in 98 or 99. And then after that, subsequently, Sri Lanka Telecom joined the internet exchange. At the moment, I think the traffic-wise, I'm not sure this. LISPA 1 is smaller. It's in the small exchange. So we had an issue with concept carries. So now the Sri Lanka Telecom also have an exchange which connects to other ISPs in Sri Lanka. So this is the history. I'm just giving you just to have a little bit idea of what was in the past.
Yeah. Thanks, Harsha. I think it's a very good history point that what he just discussed, because as I was going to explain, so two of them, they could be clients, maybe they could be neighbors, for example, right? But then traffic could be still going to your upstream ISP and then upstream to their upstream ISPs, which could be in a different country, and so on. So this is not optimal, right? One thing is that ultimately, end of the day, it's the customer who is paying for that international bandwidth, right? Because once it goes out to international circuits, international networks, and so on, so we have to actually pay for that international bandwidth as well. So cost matter is one thing, and then the response time, because you're going all the way around that and then coming back. So rather, uh, if we can communicate locally, or if you can connect locally, that is much better, especially from a performance point of view, especially from a response point of view, efficiency point of view. It's much better to connect all these networks. So for that, what we have to do is we have to get as much as these service providers connected to one point, right? So that is what we call an internet exchange point, or IXP, right? So IXP, or internet exchange point. So so currently, there are, as I understand, maybe Asel, you can also join in. As I understand, currently there are a couple of exchange points here, like SLT, they run their exchange point. Also, I think Lankacom, also they have the exchange point. And then some of the ISPs, they connect through those exchange points as well. So Asel, you want to share some thoughts from an operational perspective? How you.
It's just that now if we don't have an IX, as Champka said, we pay to the ISP and the ISPs pay to the uplink ISPs. If we want to go to the internet, we have to pay some other big ISP to go to the internet, right? So if we do not have an IX, that is local traffic, keeping local, not going to the internet to get to your next neighbor, right? If you want to speak to him, you want to speak to the other person. If there's no IX, you have to go all the way maybe to the US to turn around and come back to him. Okay. So the IX takes that long hop out. So you just uh, go through the IX locally and go to your neighbor. So dialogue customer, you are dialogue and she is maybe SLT. If you want to go to her server, you go through the IX local connectivity. Otherwise, you have to go all the way up, and that means dollars, right? You have to pay to go up and also to come back. So that we are saving as a nation. If we do not have that, we are not saving that money. That's a huge amount of money. Internet bandwidth is very costly. So that is reducing our cost and getting the benefit to you. So if there's a lot of local traffic, that will be very cheap on your side. Your cost will go down. Our cost will go down, meaning your tariff will go down. Yeah, delay also. If you go all the way up to US and come back, it will be like 300 milliseconds delay for a packet to come back. But if it is local, it will be like 20 milliseconds or less. So these are the benefits that you get for an IX
at that time.
And yeah, and another point is now these IXs, internet. Now, why there was a friction initially? Because we are from telco background. If we pass some traffic to another operator, they have to pay. We have to pay to terminate on their network. They have to pay to terminate in our network. But internet is not like that. Internet exchanges are mostly free. You are benefiting mutually. But at the beginning, the thinking was telco thinking, right? So they didn't, SLT as the big operator didn't want to, uh, break away from that domain by connecting freely. You are allowing their traffic to come in, and they are allowing our traffic to come in, and there's no money exchange between the two parties. The big operator will think, now we have the content, we have the servers in our network, so everybody has to come in and they have to pay. So, but now it is not anymore like that. So that is why there was a friction. Now almost all the IXs are free exchanges. Nobody's paying. Both parties are benefiting. So they are free exchanges.
Yeah, yeah.
Only then thing is that you are need to connect some big pipe to the network.
Yeah, at
And
the
also-
moment, what we did was LISPA IX is at Lankacom, and subsequently the XLT also connected to that. Now you also have. There was a joke at that time. If you are in two different buildings right next to each other, and so if you want to connect to you may be even sitting right next to each other, and you have two different ISPs. That packet will go directly to the United States and then come to the next door neighbor's machine, right? So those days we used to say that we were subsidizing the American users. They used to give like $19.90 or whatever connectivity, but we are also paying for their connectivity and subsidizing.
And to add to that, not only IEXs serve that purpose. The big two operators say Dialog and SLT. We have a lot of traffic going to in between. So we have direct connections also.
That is right.
Yeah, that's called direct peering. That's like one-to-one internet exchange. The exchange we are talking about is one-to-many. You connect one pipe and share the traffic with all the other operators at one point. That is the internet exchange. And one-to-one peering is called direct peering. That is also there, still there.
So there are
You
different
have one, right? You have with the Dialog.
We have
Several, yeah. That happened. I'll tell you a very interesting story. With the Dialog, what happened was we want to have some telecenters. There's an Anasala. And one day we realized that the traffic that is going in between Dialog and SLT, because the contracts were won by the Dialog as well as the Sri Lanka Telecom. So we realized that there is a latency, that the delay. And when we looked at the delay, we found out that the pipes that is connected between the Sri Lanka Telecom and the Dialog was not enough. So then there were discussions, and I think ICTA discussed with you. I don't know. That's how I remember it. And then they made it a bigger pipe between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, there are, of course, peer, but the thing is that, bottom line is that obviously if you're thinking about from a local perspective, right, the response time, all these things what we discussed so far, it's a good thing to have that. And especially maybe a neutral party, maybe someone can probably I'm just wondering whether there's any scope, like some neutral party can have a exchange so that all the ISPs, they all can connect to that. Because say for example, if you want to put some content, or say even a root server, right, so if you put in that exchange, the benefit is much more compared to rather than having in one ISP network, right? So there are lots of advantage there, and maybe there could be some discussion.
In 2014, when I was at the TRC, there were discussions of next generation networks. So we were talking about there is a plan. The TRC would have a IX connecting all the ISPs together. So for the next generation networks are going to come, so that we were planning for that as well. But at the moment, I don't know what has happened. Asela must be knowing now. Since then. Since then there is no development right now. That's the problem that I have. I was just telling now in 2014 what we discussed, from there onwards it did not happen. At the same time, IPv6, we had a huge major thrust we put on for IPv6, but that also had been, now I don't know what is happening. I tried to talk to some of the people who had been doing that, and it had also halted. So we are basically right now we are trying to do something with the Ministry of Digital Science and what they call digital infrastructure. With the secretary, we are having some discussions right now. So there is a possibility we'll have a roadmap, we'll have a policies by the end of this year. So at least we'll jumpstart whatever we have stopped, right? So you have to now, we are now getting old, right? I mean, so you guys have to get involved now, right? So the next generation must take over. So our time is now running out, basically. So we have to hand it over to you. So
and also, this is not, and also, by the way, we are not talking about very expensive infrastructure here, because having IX means it's really minimal cost. I mean, you don't really need huge amount of infrastructure or equipment as such, right? So there are, of course, layer 2 or layer 3 type exchanges, but depending on the needs, so it may not be expensive. We are talking. So this is something that maybe probably some discussion can be.
But I think this next generation, there was the TRC had plans.
Yeah.
So I think we may have to jumpstart it, right? And also look at the IEX. Then a lot of things can be done. As you said, the local content can be sitting on those servers.
Yeah.
There are a lot of benefits that actually we could have. The other thing is, can we also discuss about the local languages?
I think that's a good point. So maybe
So
because you are involved quite a lot in the past.
I will little bit talk about. So I'm asking Mahi to have a card to give me only 5 minutes. I can talk about so much about it. Let me little talk about what is happening with the local languages, so that you will have some idea right now. Let me, for the benefit for all of you, what I'll just little bit tell you what the problem that these languages have. Do you know what the problems are primarily? Why Sinhala Sinhala computerized very late, right? I mean, somewhere in 2000 we started actually, but the encoding happened somewhere in 96. Implementation was somewhere in 2000. There's a reason behind that. The Sinhala, 1 minute, I will give me 1 minute to just describe. It's called the complex script. There are a couple of scripts that you have. Now, if you take Arabic writes from right to left, right? Arabic also has some interesting features. So you write right to left. It's called bidirectional algorithm, right? You write to right to left, and then you write the numbers, though you have to keep like this and you come back. So it's called bidirectional. So it's a very difficult to handle. Sinhala is also a very difficult language, like Hindi. One of the most difficult languages is Bhutanese, called Zonka. Zonka is one of the most difficult languages to computerize. Why? We have a Tamil and Sinhala both have. There are vowels come right in front of a consonant, right? Behind, top, and below. We call it Ispili-Papili, right? Now, Zonka has stacking up of 6. It can go up to 6. So you write like this and you go like this and you come like this, right? So it's a very difficult. You stack up, right? Very difficult language. But ours is a very simple. 1 before, 1 after, 1 below, 1 top. But the problem is, if you know the way we type, there is an issue also. We write as we type as we write, like we write. So that means Kombua in Tamil also in Sri Lanka, Kombua first and then the consonant. But we have some very complex ones, right? We have a Rakaranse, we have a Yanse, this shorten up some of them. And so because of that, Sinhala is one of the difficult languages to do, right? If let's say you write Lunu, how do you write Lunu? Luyan, when you put this, you don't write that like that. There is a separate letter that converts into an entirely different letter. So that's also another very difficult thing to do in the complex scripts, right? So because of that, Sinhala, we took so many years to computerize. First of all, we had to understand how it can be stored. So what you don't realize is there are some hidden code points are in there in Unicode. That's called zero-bit joiner. So when you in the Rakaranse, there is a that's why you see the Al-Kirima Ran comes in there sometimes, Rakar, right? So recently Google had, when you search, because they strip off the zero-bit joiner. Okay. Now let me go to what we have done up to now, so that you will have an idea. The Unicode part is now it's fine. There's no issue with about the input. The second part is we are also fine with the inputting. There is a little slight problem in the input we are now taking care of. That is this combo issue has come to a, because the Microsoft did not want to deal with that input. That means having combo type first, right? So there was an issue there. Then we developed our own one, which came, ICT released it. And that part suddenly didn't start working for Windows 10. Windows 10, Microsoft had forgotten what we had done, and they bundle it up and send it without that. So now there is an issue, right? Then as far as the other rendering is concerned, I had a lot of discussions with the Google. Now they don't strip off anymore. Rakar now comes, if you are properly installed your Sinhala, now you don't have any issues. Now it comes in built in also, right? So there are some problems that cropped up again because of these, especially Microsoft had forgotten. Otherwise, we were okay. Now we have started again talking to Microsoft, and we are telling them to again basically patch up the renderer, right? So we had meetings last week, and for the last 3 weeks we're having meetings, and to fix this one up, especially Excel. Excel has a huge problem, right? When you type with our input method, there is an issue comes in, right? Then as far as the OCR is concerned, let me tell you a little bit about OCR. In my lab, OCR has been now with the 500 dpi, that's the resolution. It's now about 90%. That means when you, with a 500 dpi Sinhala, we can actually, it will convert text to text. I was telling Professor Gihan yesterday. Now we are testing with 300 dpi. 300 dpi means we are lowering the resolution. So 300 dpi is the better. We have about 78% accuracy. So I think by the end of next month or by July, we will release a OCR for you with a 300 dpi, perhaps at the accuracy of 90%. So that means that will be a one big, that means a lot of these old books can be, it's irrespective of the font. So don't have to worry about this font or that font, you don't have to worry about it. Now, as far as the Tamil is concerned, the standard is SLS 1134 for Sinhala, the input standard. That basically now is being standardized, right? Then the Tamil, of course, there was an issue came again, the same problem with the input method, because if the Indian input method, you have the consonant, after consonant vowel is typed. So our Tamil community did not want that. So they came and said, well, why are we not doing anything? So therefore, now there is a Sri Lankan Tamil input, LK input, which is called SLS 1136, right? So that also we have taken care of that right now, not to worry, all right? So those two are okay now. So what are the problems we have right now? For the IDNs, Lanka had come out, then .ilange had come out. The issues are, you can, because there is something called Punicode. I don't want to go into detail of that. What Champik said about converting that into ASCII. The Unicode will be ASCII, right? There's long tags. So these ones are called Punicode. In the Punicode, there is an issue with the zero with joiner. So because of that, when you write Sri, we have an issue. Rakara is issue. So we have now, we will actually settle that issue anyway. We are now thinking of how to do that. Then that's a problem. Other one, the very important one, we are now working on translators, grammar checkers, all are now happening right now. So if you guys are interested in some of this research, right, if you're doing something, so you can discuss either to Professor Gihan Das. He has there is a research group at the University of Moratuwa, and then the University of Colombo under Dr. Ruwan Veerasinghe and my lab also. Together we are doing research. I'm doing much more of the technical side. Dr. Ruan Veerasinghe is doing on the basically on the NPA, that's the natural NLP, natural language processing side, like the grammar and the translators, right? So if there are any issues, so you can. So the roadmap is by next year, we will have almost all the tools. But unfortunate problem is this: these big what we call multinationals forgetting what we have done in the past, and they forget and they bundle it up with the earliest versions. That's the only issue we have. So we have to do something on that.
Maybe actually, I just want to add one little thing without taking too much time. But before that, can I ask, who are the developers here? Who are the developers? Only one, right? Okay. Anyway, so what I wanted to actually tell. Say, for example, now we talked about these local language scripts and so on, and then we talked about IDNs and so on. But how do you know whether your applications will correctly interpret all that? Say, for example, if in your browser, if you type this domain name, or if you do, if your email client, say, we talked about these new GTLDs, for example, right? Or even IDN related scripts. So if someone send you an email with say .lanka or .ilange or something, right? So how do you know whether your mail client will correctly interpret that, right? Or your browser or your search engine will correctly interpret that? So this is one of the problems actually we have. It's common to any language, any script. So this is why there is a working or a steering group for that. This is called universal acceptance, right? Universal, or UA simply we call it, universal acceptance steering group. Now, again, these are all consist of volunteers and so on. There is actually there is a website as well. If you visit uasg.tech, right? uasg.tech. So that's the, so you can read more into this, and even you can contribute to this. You can, if you're, especially if you're a developer and so on, this is some area that you can work on as well, just to make sure that it's been rightly interpreted, and so on. So I just want to add this. Kelvin, you want to add anything on anything else that Don has conveyed? Not much. Okay. Yeah. So that's something that I just wanted to quickly add. Right.
Are there any questions on that? Very important. Are there any questions? Why is not working? Are there any questions on the localization? So that one of the little thing I forgot to mention about is the web when it comes to these international languages. What you have is a UTF-8, UTF-16. So that's also, but there, if you have any questions, you can ask me. I will explain in technical terms. It's fairly complicated technical.
Okay. Questions? Over to you, Mahi. Over to you.
So now this session is regarding the politics and IG. So a little bit new to me, and I believe it's new to all, rather than the panelists. It will be new to all. So I just researched on something, and I have some to tell you. This is not written in anywhere. This is being done myself. So sometimes you can join in and you can improve this content. So as I said in the early year sessions, the last day, so this is going to be a discussion. So you need to participate. So we'll discuss on this. So what is politics? So, so do you have any idea of what is politics? Are you familiar with this?
Kind of drama.
So any other? So there are few definitions. So rather than definitions, I'm using some some definitions that I have used through the internet, search through the internet. So politics is activities aimed at improving someone's status or increasing power within an organization. Another statement was politics is the activity of the government concerning the political relations between states. And again, another statement, politics is the activities associated with the governance for the country or area, especially the debate between parties having power. So do you agree with these statements? So so you can read it out then. So it says to improve someone's status or increase in power. Again, in the second statement, it says activities of governments concerning the political relations between states. So international politics. The activities associated with the governance of a country or area. So do you have any other kind of definitions or other kind of statements for politics? If you search through the Google, there are a lot of definitions from various perspectives. If Marxist perspective is something else, and liberalism is using another statement. So you can search on that. Because today we are not going to teach politics here. So we are going to move into the IG space. So what are the events that you have seen, you have been faced so far surrounding in the environment of yourself? When you go on a bus, when you switch on your TV, when you reading your newspapers, politics, everywhere. These are the things we normally know. But have you heard of office politics? Organizational politics? Have you heard of those? Within the house. Is there any politics kind of things going on? Have you experienced? So actually you are a part and a partial of a political society. So in the history it says we are not Homo sapiens. We are political animals. So everyone is political animals. So you can't say that I'm off from politics. So internet governance, space, politics is there. That's a good statement. So to hear for all, so he will repeat it.
You may ignore politics, but politics will not ignore you.
So this is going to be very interesting. So politics is activity in relation to power. Politics Politics is related to power. Am I correct?
Resources between different groups.
Yeah, it's power in the sense. I think politics. What the word politics comes from? It's politics is actually comes from the Greek word. Yeah, it's a politics is about cities, governing of cities actually. So those days, citizens of the cities, they basically try to persuade others to join together. So the majority, you want to, so the power is obtained through the majority. So they decide on some idea how to run the city. So they talk to each other and persuade. So this is where the politics actually. So they were good orators those days. Seneca is one of them in the Greek, in Greece. So the same idea had come to. I will just tell you about a little bit about. I mean, for you, how many of you are Buddhists here? Can I have the hands up? The Buddhists. Okay. You know about Lichavis? Lichavi. So the Lichavis are also the same like a city. They run by the all got together and decided. Even the Shakyans are like that. Siddhartha or the Gautama, the Lord Buddha was born to a Shakya clan. Shakya clan also it's another city which governed by the majority called oligarchy. So the word oligarchy comes from that. So anyways, so when you're talking about that, and I tend to believe it's not like there's a one king decides on everything, but a lot of people get together and decide. So the politics is not a bad thing. So don't sort of, I mean, for me, politics is a nice thing actually. So it's a majority, but unfortunately, it has become very derogatory right now because of the fact what has happened in political scenarios. So another thing is you also must realize politics, whoever you send into the parliament, it's a representation of you, right? So your community is actually represented. So if they are bad, you are also bad because you're sending them. So don't get about bad. Don't think about it's a bad way, right? Look at politics positively. It's a good thing to have. Majority rule is a good thing.
So
Actually, the democracy is the minority, right? Make sure that democracy is for minorities. So we can be able to get together, group together, decide on some decision. So now when you run the ISOC, I want you guys to together decide. That's what's happening in not just one person deciding. The president does not decide or the secretary does not decide. Everybody get together, decide what the way you want to take this forward, right? That's the idea. So it's a good thing.
okay. So I said it's a power relation. Politics is a power relation, little to some extent. Yeah. So in social science, it explains the social science and politics. Power is the ability to influence or outright control the behavior of people. The term authority is often used for power perceived as legitimate by the social structure.
Yeah, that's right. But here, in our right now, in the politics that you're talking about, there is no one king. There was a despotic kings. Remember, there was a one time France used to say, "I am the France." The king of France used to say, "I am the France." Right? It's like the king of France used to say those days, "I am the France." So those are despotic king. I mean, the the Louis the 15th, right? He said, "I'm the France." But our Sri Lankan kings are not like that. There was a discussions. Even the kings were appointed actually sometimes. Actually, there's kind of appointment going on in the. If you look at, we don't hereditary kings, though they are hereditary, it was appointment, right? So anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is the decision making is actually when we group together and decide, the minorities can influence the majority decisions. So it's a power comes through. So the minorities, so the democracy and the sharing is good for minorities. if the minority ideas can share the influence a majority. That's what it should be. The power should be like that. Is that okay? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my
So it's a discussion.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
You can
now
agree
it-
or not. You can have other idea also. So then the authority, as in the last slide, it says power. The authority is often used for power perceived. So authority refers to the use of power that is seen as legitimate or socially approved or recognized. Authority and legitimate violence. Yeah.
I think sometimes the word power is a bit misleading because we see it in movies, or we think, oh, power means like you're a real high level big shot and you can push people around. So I tend to prefer words like influence or agency. Everyone, because even though we have a lot of young people in the room, and they may think, well, I don't work for the government, or I don't have a big important job. Everyone still has a bit of power and agency that they can exercise in situational aspects in different places. And that's where we say like agency, like your ability to influence others. You don't have to have a big important job to exercise influence or agency or power.
let me a little bit. I think now you're American, right? So the way you are looking at it, social, because there are some sociological connotations. So I think when you're using the power, now I try to say not power. I don't want to use the word power as you, but now for the hierarchical societies, that we come from a hierarchical society. So the power is the authority is the power. So therefore in politics in Sri Lanka actually may be sort of looking at in the power based. So there is authoritarian, but in the United States, because I have seen what's going on, is the influence. Is you are influencing people to make the decision making, right? That's what you're trying to say. So you don't have to be big shot. You don't have to be like a person or a bully. So you should be able to make you can influence people to change.
Yeah, then I will join. My slides are there. So then the word is legitimacy, is the right and acceptance of an authority, usually a governing law. So then sovereignty comes. Sovereignty, the full right and power of a governing body to govern itself without any interference from outside sources or bodies. So who has sovereignty? Normally nations or countries. Sovereignty. Nation consists of a distinct population of people that are bound together by a common culture, history, and tradition, who are typically concentrated within a specific geographical region. So this is the explanation I selected through the research that I have done. So if you search through the internet, you can get similar kind of definitions for nations. So when we are thinking of internet and the sovereignty, can internet be a nation? It's not a nation. Yeah. So can internet has sovereignty? So with the explanation, it's yeah. Do you have any?
That's not really our. Yeah.
I would prefer a multi-stakeholder response to that from the floor.
No, I'm sorry. I would just say the response from the floor. So you are made of the internet. All of you. All of us are internet. So all of us make decisions on the internet. Should be, right? That should be the way.
So what about the governing law regarding the internet?
That the laws are different, my dear. Different countries
So
have
what
laws.
these are the queries that I'm having. So
Community. Maybe instead of
Would be
talking
the
about a
best way,
nation,
community. Yes.
community.
it's community. So in the virtual space, we have communities of people
Communities.
who share common interests. They may not be ethnically bound or culturally bound because they're all over, because they're global, but they do share common interests.
Yes.
And so we might call them a community or a network, something along those lines. But nation has a different connotation.
It's a geographical location.
So
or something
so
like
it's
that.
beyond the geographical
Yeah,
boundaries.
it has gone beyond.
So that's why that I want to explain that internet is beyond the geographical region. That's why I came through these whole slides. So sovereignty and nations. So nations comes with the geographical boundaries. So my question was, can internet be a nation?
So I think we are talking. Why don't you ask them
Yeah.
to express? They are the
So
ones who
what
should.
are your expressions?
Please talk.
So as we
Give it to
said,
them.
this is a discussion that you can share your
Give it to
ideas,
them.
your
Give it to
feelings,
all
your
of them.
comments. Everything is correct, I
I
believe,
think we should
regarding
keep
in
our
this
mouth
space.
shut. Why don't you talk?
So next session is Youth Governance Forum, where that you have to talk.
Why
We are
don't
going to
you
hear.
talk? Why don't you talk? So you are the ones who
Yeah.
should talk.
Is I want to talk about the politics,
No, politics. Don't talk about politics.
but I want to
So
talk
regarding internet
And politics. together.
and politics.
So why
Okay.
don't you talk about what you feel? on the
Yeah,
internet?
yesterday you were talk about the Barack Obama was mostly used the social networks to get popular with peoples because peoples are on social networks. So the internet is today used for politics.
No.
Actually,
Can I little
Yeah.
interject on that? You are part of internet,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You are now governing the internet. You are being a part of internet means you have the responsibility to run internet. So
Yeah.
if you are that, all of us, we are all of a community, part of internet. And when you are part of community, when you are part of now, when you are in Sri Lanka, when you are a citizen of Sri Lanka, we all have a vote, right? We decide who will run governing of this country. Likewise, I want you to think all of you as part of India. Now don't be passive. Be proactive. Be part of that community. Be part of that governance. That is what we need to do. Right? It's not I am telling you to be part or he's telling you to be part. You should be part of this governance. Be part of that governance. That's what I want. So then think about that way.
yeah,
It's hard.
yeah. It's a horrible thing to do that. And if I'm a part of that internet governance, what I will do is we have technology to do something, and we most of the people start using internet just for getting fun, for gossiping. But the internet is not just like that. It is a broader thing. So every person want to use internet. Several years ago, parents don't tell you you don't study computers, you don't go to internet, you don't go to internet cafes. When I was studying at school, my school was told me you don't go internet cafes, you don't learn about the internet because there are so many horrible things in it. So my dad said, I will give you money. You can go to internet cafe to learn anything because I don't have a own computer and also I don't have a internet connection. So that I went to internet cafes to learn something from internet. So the internet is an important thing. We can learn anything from it, but we want to use it for a good purpose. So government can do something to protect it, to avoid harmful things from it. Some people are using internet for wrong things. I can't describe that what it is. So government can do this, do something in ISPs can implement it. Want to list out the bad things and want to block that, they can do. So that I suggest them to block that from their networks. ISP can do this. So they want to block the bad things and want to influence the good things. How can they learn from internet without a teacher in physical area? We can learn anything from anything virtually. We can learn anything virtually. So governments and other people who want to influence students to learn from internet and use how to use internet effectively and efficiently.
Can I interject on that? And also, මම පොඩ්ඩක් සිංහලෙන් කියනනම් ඕගොල්ලෝ කතා කරන්න දැන් සිංහලෙන් හරි දෙමළෙන් උනත් කමක් නැහැ. You speak in any language you want. Be part of this. Then can I be sort of this thing? So now what you want, what you are saying is what internet is all about. You are part of the internet. You decide what you want, not the governments. Governments come secondary. That's what this multi-stakeholder governance is all about. In fact, if you look at internet, governments are actually pushed further down, and we all, that is what the part of the internet society, we as members.
Can I add something now? The word for it is bottom up.
Bottom
because
up.
the governments work usually from top
down,
right? You decide and then it drills down to the bottom level. But internet is the other way around. Bottom is deciding, top is implementing. So that is the difference. So you need to understand that bottom is us. Everybody is at the bottom and we decide what to do. We tell them, ICANN has a policy. We tell them, you have to change this policy. This is our requirement. They will take a decision within the panel. We give the proposal. They do the change. Majority wins. That is how it happens. So internet is not governed by top. It's governed by the bottom. We decide. We are the decision makers. So that needs to be understood. That is why Internet Governance Forum is there for. So that is the concept. So you need to understand that we are the deciding party.
I just want to add to the conversation here. I like a lot of what everybody's mentioning. So Dominic mentioned about influencing. Harsha mentioned about you make the decision as well, and Ashela, you talk about the bottom-up process. So marrying some of this at individually at our levels, okay, we can't change the internet overnight. And when we say that we want to have you sort of determine the rules governing internet, it's hard, I think, for everybody to go back tonight and tomorrow and say, okay, I'm going to change the internet. All right, I accept that, and a lot of people has tells me after meetings that, okay, so what exactly should I do? I think the influence part is important. At our own way, individually, you go back to your company, you could influence your management, your bosses, and say, hey, I read about this, and I think what Champika mentioned about universal acceptance, about trying to get our email systems accept things like internationalized domain names rather than have a gmail.com or something.com. We are about to see .something that is not in our language. Can our email system accept that? Start from those kind of levels and try to influence the upper levels or at that is a very specific example. But more generally, you could say, hey, I heard about this at ICANN. Have you heard about ICANN? Do you think we should sit up and take a look, and sort of participate in the conversation? So at our own individual levels, we could try to take that small step to influence the sphere that we can influence, and see how it goes to make that in future, make a big step. Another step that you can take is to be part of this kind of conversation. Go to a regional platform. Go to make yourself available to ICANN meeting or to an academy. So I've already mentioned how you can apply to be in ICANN meeting, for example. So these are the concrete steps that you can actually take to take that first step, to try to change the internet or the rules of the internet.
Yeah, I appreciate what you said, Kelvin, and it sort of made me think about other ways that young people and students can have some influence or exercise some agency on the internet. For example, if you're a student and you're studying, say, computing, obviously you have interests, you're here. So you could start a Facebook page and encourage your other classmates to be part of it, and you could put links and information from ICANN and ISOC and say, hey, did you ever wonder how the internet works? And you could talk about what Champika was saying about, the packets going back and forth and why, basics of how a domain system works. And then through that process of just small educational postings and discussions, you can start educating and influencing other students and bring them into this space to have this discussion. So that's the way, even as a student, you can do small things.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sir mentioned the government, from the hierarchy, the government ruling something. So the politics applying there. So I wish to clarify once. From your experience, I am not mean current government. From your experience, what are the disturbance you are feeling, or how they can be helpful to govern our Sri Lankan internet space? I mean, we cannot govern international. At least we can govern our Sri Lankan base. So, how government will be helpful, or what are the disturbance we are feeling? So, I wish to ask the expert. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a good question. I believe, I think the head table also will be agree with that. People think that community, society, government, they think that it's on a big picture, it's someone else, it's not me or you. So community means it's you and me. Society means it's you and me. Government means it's you and me. They can't govern the empty world. They need some people, you and me. So maybe, it's like the people say, okay, it's a dam and the water can stop water can stop by the dam, fine. But a small bricks which made that dam that much big, a small leakage will enough to damage that one. So you're thinking always in a big picture, but think that you just take the point that, okay, I'm a society, I am a community, I am the government. So I, you, me, that means you singular, not the you plural, I'm saying. If you take that decision, you can do any changes. But don't think that the ideas will not accepted by the international or the local government. No. Everybody will accept if it's in an acceptable manner, if you have influenced them. So how? You need to educate your friends of yours and maybe your community. That means, community means, again, I'm saying, you first update, then update the others. So that will bring a different social difference in every environment. Again, I'll just give some words in Tamil. தமிழ்ல யாருக்கும் கருத்துகள் தெரிய விருப்பப்பட்டா நீங்க உங்களுக்கு தமிழ்ல சொல்லலாம். நீங்க அந்த மொழி வேறுபாடு இல்லைங்க. இது தமிழ், சிங்களம், இங்கிலீஷ், சைனீஸ்ல வேணும்னா சொல்லலாம். நோ இஷ்யூஸ். உங்களுக்கு எது வேணாலும் சொல்லுங்க. கருத்துக்கள் நீங்க நினைக்க கூடாது இந்த கருத்து இந்த ரூம்லயே இது அடைப்பட்டு போயிருந்து. உங்களோட இந்த கருத்து நோட் எடுக்கப்படும். இதை இப்போ இந்த ப்ரோக்ராம் முடிவுல இது சமரைஸ் பண்ணி வெளியே அனுப்புவாங்க. அங்க உங்களோட இந்த சின்ன சின்ன ஒவ்வொரு கருத்துகளும் எடுப்படும். நினைக்க கூடாது யாருக்கும் இதாகாதுன்னு. ப்ளீஸ் உங்களோட கருத்துக்களை சொல்லுங்க. தேங்க்ஸ்.
Can I will talk in English actually. Basically what you said about the Sri Lankan internet, Sri Lankan internet, you can't say Sri Lankan internet. Once you are actually connected, you are part of internet. So the governance, when it comes to governance, even the Sri Lankan government cannot influence internet. Yeah, Sri Lankan in the Sri Lankan even government cannot influence. I'll tell you what the reason is. No site cannot be now. You know that the previously there were sites were blocked, but it had no impact whatsoever. In fact, when you block the site, people tend to go more to that site. So that's something that the governments had learned. Governments cannot. So that the idea of when you look at some of the, I think I may have some slides on that. The basically blocking the restrictions, those won't work in internet. So remember that. So I don't see any difference. So therefore, I think when you are part of internet, you are part of internet, and the governance, it is your decision. But there are rules. There are set of rules everywhere. There are laws. We call it laws in the particular country. There are set of rules. So we have to work within a accepted. We are the ones who make the rules, but we have to adhere to those rules. That's what I'm trying to. Now, the laws are made by the parliament. Parliament is what? Us. Right? Normally, that's what it should be. Democracy would be, right? That's how the country works. Likewise, we make the rules, and we have to work within the framework of those rules. That's all.
So,
this raises an interesting question, and it ties back to that term sovereignty that just came up, because there's some language, I don't know if you call it disputes, but in terms of how we think of the internet, some countries use the term information sovereignty, because traditionally a government has a right to control what happens within its borders, correct? I mean, in the pre-era, they have the legal authority to. Well, now we have this platform where everybody's interconnected and there is no wall or geographic boundary. So can information sovereignty exist? Can you control information just within a geographic border? Should you control that information? Should people be allowed to communicate and interact across borders? And so the promise of the internet is that communities and people can interact across countries, so that you can interact with other students who may share common interests in, say, Latin America or a different part of the world, and you can become friends with people. And so there's that question of sovereignty, of should someone be controlling the information that you consume or the people you communicate or whatever? Are there walls around that platform? We hope that the internet, I hope we mostly agree that it should be kept kind of free and open, that people can communicate and trade and do commerce and create community around the world. But there are those who talk about internet sovereignty, and that the internet should be controlled in the same way that, say, geographic boundaries are controlled.
I think if I talk about that, there are certain countries in the world, they're trying to at least control by blocking and filtering. Now, if you take Saudi Arabia, China, then there are different reasons. Korea, and also I saw that Turkey recently had issues like that. And when the Arab Spring,
next is Sri Lanka.
I don't think Sri Lanka will ever be able to do that. I will tell you, Sri Lanka. I'll elaborate on that, right? And I'm going to say that because I was, that during the summer, the blog. I know about that. Yeah. I know about that also. That plan was in the previous government also had it, and basically what I saw was at that time it's not going to work out. but they are also bringing it right now. They're trying to filter, not a filtering in terms of monitoring. No, I know that. I know all of the, the point I'm trying. I know that that plan had been there, and now they are trying to put in effect well, there was a one huge filtering mechanism going to have. Your IX will be there, basically. All of them will be connected to that. But what I'm trying to tell you is, people use various methods to try to block, right? If you use VPNs, now let's say that I have now even China, right? If you use a VPN, you will never be able to buy you. No one. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Even whatever the blocks that you put, internet can be connected through so many other methods. Look at the Tor, the onion, right? There are methods by which that there is technology right now to actually go through this. A lot of people don't know this. So that's exactly what I have told the previous government when they were trying to sort of install it, right? So there are various ways to bypass that. So now, like community like us, we are technology savvy people, and Sri Lankans are very good in when it comes to technology. And I'm telling you, it's a matter of just tell people to how to use the Tor or the onion, right? So I'm telling you this. So it's not going to work out. It's going to be a huge disaster. So it's a waste of money. But there are a lot of countries are doing this now. China is doing that. Saudi Arabia. It is better to have. I'm telling you, there are methods you should have now. There are the people who use internet for other purposes also. Those people are one step ahead. They will use some of the technology that I'm talking about to use. So there are other methods to sort of to monitor. What I'm trying to tell you is having a filtering mechanisms won't work in internet, to my knowledge. The Egypt, you know what the Egypt did, right? They shut down the internet for right. But did it work? I don't think so. Social media stopped, but did it stop the Arab Spring? It didn't. I think it had the reverse impact.
There's a number of countries that are involved with shutting down the internet, especially around. Thank you. There's been a troubling trend internationally on internet shutdowns, and a number of countries involved in shutting down internet, blocking, filtering, or slowing, or making apps unavailable, particularly around times of national crises or elections or things like that.
Turkey did it. Turkey for their. They did Turkey did it for 2 days.
Uganda,
Facebook, Uganda, that's all. But to me, actually, what I feel is the when you have VPNs, so then you have to shut down totally the communication. And like if you have VPN, for instance, right now you can buy VPNs online. So for about $10, you can get about $20, right? You can get a good VPN. Yeah, you can get it for free also. But if you get the VPNs, it's unless that the man in the middle, attack, right?
Or the ISPs are ordered to stop service.
They can stop service, but that's the only way. That means that you have to shut down all the communications in that case. But that you can't run that way. No country can run shutting down the whole communication system.
In Nepal, it happened a few months back. The internet shut down for 2 days or 3 days in Nepal.
I hadn't heard that, but I know there's.
But I'm sure Sri Lanka will never be able to do it because we are much more aware, we are much more educated, and I'm telling you, Asela, even if you do it. Man in the middle attack. That then man in the middle, yes. The man in the middle is going to happen, right?
Who is that?
But the
man?
certificate we can actually but what I'm trying to tell you is the Sri Lankan community, Sri Lankans are not going to, I'm telling you, that will not work. I'm telling you that it won't happen in this country.
Let's hope
It
so.
won't happen.
That's
I'm
what we
telling
have to
you,
say.
our people are much more savvy. That's one.
So, all the last 30 minutes, you heard about the politics behind the internet governance. So, have you ever thought of this? What happening around the world? What happening within the Sri Lankan continent? So, last day, the last session, can you remember Dr. Sampath, who came to introduce the legal framework behind the internet? So, the internet is not geographically bounded. So, the legal system are bounded with the geographical boundaries. So, this is just a question that we can answer. We'll try to get an answer from you all. So, Sri Lankan do hack the USA-based IT firm and violate the copyrights and sold to an Indian while Sri Lankan visiting Australia.
You don't have to do that. I'll tell you, Bangladesh central bank was hacked by a Sri Lankan. Do you know that?
Not Sri Lankan. Someone came from.
No. Sri Lankans. And transferred money out of, what is a billion? How many millions? I can't remember. Within yeah. It came from here, transferred to somewhere else. Now, the point here is that happens every day. There is because I have done, I was part of forensic earlier, the digital forensics, right? Every day there is a case like this here. So Sri Lanka became the very first country to sign the Budapest Convention and signatory to that because of a lot of these issues. And our laws are fairly advanced right now when it comes to legal frameworks. Unfortunately, the enforcement is the issue. Enforcement, the lower level, the police has no idea of what's actually happening right now. Because of that, those issues are there. So that's also right now, this with the Budapest Convention coming in place, they're trying to actually fix these issues. We have suggested some modification to the act also. Recently, if you speak to Mr. Jayantha Fernando, it had gone to the cabinet again with a certain modifications to the 2006 Electronic Transaction Act of 2006, Act 12 of 2006. There's some modification, but there are a lot of things have to be done with our evidence ordinance. There is evidence ordinance. We have to do certain things. There are lots of other issues, but otherwise, our laws are very, very advanced when it comes to this. So,
what can we talk about tax on the internet? That is a political thing.
Hello.
So do you have any ideas of this kind of a situation? Is practical situation is mentioned by Harsha Wijewardane. So what are the governing law? What are the acts that it can be prevented? So do we have a solution? I'm asking from the audience. So because that we need to speak up. We need to think about these things because last day we tried to learn the legal framework. So here I'm asking in the virtual world how these legal frameworks should work. So do you have an idea? So Budapest.
Maybe the question isn't legal frameworks. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if anybody else behind me is one, but maybe the question is like, do you have a right to go to any website you want that's a lawful website, not one that's dangerous or certain child pornography or things like that. But for reasonable websites, you have a right to access them.
Still a question. Still, this is a question where that we can search, we can act, we can gather, we can engage. So these are the questions that we have to ask in the internet governance forums regarding tax. Asel asked regarding the tax.
මේකෙදී දැන් ලංකාවේ කෙනෙක් ඔය වගේ සිනාරිය එකක් දුන්නොත් එක එක රටවල සිද්ධ වුණොත් ඒත් ලෝ එක තියෙනවනේ නේද ස්ටාර්ෂ ඉන්ටර්නැෂනලි මේ පීනලයිස් කරන්න පුළුවන් හැබැයි අර ලොකු ප්ලේයර් කෙනෙකුට තාම ඔක කරන්න පුළුවන් අපි වගේ ඉන්ඩිවිජුවල් කෙනෙකුට
මෙහෙමයි දැන් මේ මෙතන සෙනාරියෝ එක අපි ගනිමු මොකද මේක දැන් අහනවනේ සෙනාරියෝ එකක් මෙතන මේ සෙනාරියෝ එකේදී දැන් අපි ගමු Facebook එක ගමුකෝ Facebook එක හොඳ උදාහරණයක් ඔයගලන්ට Facebook එකේ ලීගලි වෙන්නේ Facebook එක කියනවා අපි හිතමු ඔයා පබ්ලිෂ් කරනවා මොන හරි දෙයක් Facebook එකේ ඔයාට තව කෙනෙක්ට විරුද්ධව. ඒතර ඔයා දැන් ලීගල් මොන හරි ගන්නවා නම් අපිට පුළුවන් ඒක මේ ලංකාවේ ජුරිස්ඩික්ෂන් එකේ ෆයිල් කරන්න කේස් එකක්. හැබැයි එන්ෆෝස්මන්ට් එකට ගියාම අපි හිතමු එයා ඉන්නේ ඇමරිකාවේ කියලා. දැන් ඔතන ප්‍රශ්නේ එන්නේ එයා ඇමරිකාවේ ඉන්නවා නම් එයා එන්ෆෝස් කරන්න බෑ අපේ ලෝ එන්ෆෝස්මන්ට් එකට. ඒතර අපි යන්නවනේ ඉන්ටර්පෝල් එක හරහා ගිහිල්ලා ඒක එන්ෆෝස් කරන්න වෙනවා. දැන් එතකොට දැන් අපිට කේසස් ගොඩක් ආවා ওই විදිහට. ඒ කේසස් වලදී උනේ විදි දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එකක් පුළුවන් අපිට ගිහිල්ලා දැන් Facebook එක තියෙන කැලිෆෝනියාවේ ලොස් ඇන්ජලිස්. ඒතර නීතිය වශයෙන් ගන්නේ කැලිෆෝනියා නීතිය. කැලිෆෝනියා නීතිය අනුව අපිට ගිහලා එතන ෆයිල් කරන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් ඕක සිවිල් සූට් එකක් විදිහට ෆයිල් කරන්න පුළුවන්. හරිනේ? ඒ විදිහට කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් හැබැයි එහෙම කරන්න අමාරුයි. මොකද අපි lawyers-ලා අරගෙන ගිහිල්ලා it's fairly expensive නේ. ඒකට ඒක අමාරුයි. නමුත් දැනට බුඩාපෙස්ට් කන්වෙන්ෂන් එකෙන් අපිට තියෙන දෙයක් තමයි අපි එන්ෆෝස් කරන දෙයක් බුඩාපෙස්ට් කන්වෙන්ෂන් එක හරහා එන්ෆෝස් කිරීමේ හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා. අපි දැන් ඒක සිග්නේචර් වුණාම දැන් ඉන්ටර්පෝල් එකටම යන්න ඕනේ නැහැ දැන් ඉස්සරහට. ඒක තමයි අපි සයින් කළේ බුඩාපෙස්ට් එක. ඒතර දැන් අපි යුරෝපේ හරි එහෙම නැත්නම් ඇමරිකාවේ හරි ඒගොල්ලෝ සයින් කරලා තියෙනවා නම් ඒගොල්ලෝ බැඳිලා ඉන්නවා අපේ ජජ්මන්ට් එකක් එන්ෆෝස් කිරීමේ හැකියාව තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒක තාම හරියට අපි ටෙස්ට් කරලා නැහැ. හරිනේ? අපි තාම ටෙස්ට් කරලා නැහැ. නමුත් මේක හරි වැදගත්. මොකද හේතුව තව පොඩි ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා. නමුත් මේක වැදගත් වෙන්නේ අපිට මොනවා හරි ඉෂුව එකක් ආවොත් ඒ ඉෂුව එක කරන්න පුළුවන් විදි කීපයක් තියෙනවා. ඒක ඩිපෙන්ඩ් වෙනවා මොකද්ද ඉෂුව එක කියන එක. Facebook එකේ ඉෂුව එක මම පොඩ්ඩක් කියන්නම්. Facebook එක ඇමරිකන් ලෝ එකේ බේස් එකක් විදිහට අරන් තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ මැක්සිමම් ලයබිලිටි එක වෙන්නේ මට මතක හැටියට $75යි මම හිතන්නේ. මොනවා කළත් $75යි. right? Let me, now he's looking at me like what I'm telling. No, I just want to mention about something that the liability of Facebook, if there is a derogatory term, and basically they have exempted it from what they have said is they have declared they are only liable for, I think, if I can remember, $75 for whatever happens. The maximum that you can sue the Facebook is only for, because they are not responsible. It's like a tool. If you're using the tool and if you publish something in the American law, if you want, you can say that your liability is this. You can be even $1.
It's like parking at your own risk.
Yeah. So that's the whole concept.
Parking our information.
In Turkey, there was a famous example a few years ago of them shutting down Twitter for a certain amount of time, or threatening to shut down Twitter because Twitter refused to take down certain content the government found offensive. So certain governments can and will threaten companies or, pull a whole network offline.
Yeah, but unfortunately now Turkey is a big country. Mm-hmm. Because in Sri Lanka, we had several issues like that. And when we go and talk to Facebook or some of the Twitter, like big multinationals, they tend not to heed. There are, because of various reasons. Now, if you take, for instance, now if let's say that you have offensive comment in Sinhala, put it on Facebook. Now, in order for you to decipher, because there is a freedom of expression is in the American Constitution, the First Amendment right, then what happens is it's difficult to take it down for them to. So because of that, we have to give a translation. Translation to English.
You want to drink some
Yeah.
water?
Okay. What I want to do is I just want to make you thinking of these things. That's why my whole presentation or this session, what I'm trying to make you thinking of these things.
Can I now?
Yes.
We had to give a swan translation. What is in that content? So then only they, because they didn't have translators. They didn't have proper translators. Actually, that this was against our cardinal. You know, the cardinal, and there were some issues where they have put some stuff in there and we want to take them down, and they didn't have any translators. So we got the swan translators, done the thing, and we sent it, and after that they took it down. But unfortunately, common people, anybody ordinary, that's very difficult to do, right? It's not that easy. So countries like India is a big country, and there are millions of users. Now ours is about 2 to 3 million users. But when India raises a question, Facebook will act faster because it's a much bigger country, more users. And if India decides to have a lawsuit against Facebook, as you have pointed out, like against Twitter, then it will be a huge disaster for Facebook. When I went to Pakistan and Bangladesh, they have the same problem as what we have. And our cultural differences, people don't understand our cultural problems in our countries. So one of the ideas that we were talking about is to have a SAARC region. That means we all SAARC countries get together, form a sort of like a kind of a I would call a sharing of, and also we act together as part of SAARC. So that's a possibility. So that has to be actually spearheaded by the Foreign Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
So again, the next slide. The reason that we don't have, all countries do not have this unique rights regarding human rights. Some countries have not signed these human rights conventions. Regarding the Budapest, not all countries signed. So if all signed, they are in that agreement. So if those things happen, then the whole legal system can be bounded and can be applied to whole countries. So I will skip few things. So now my session is regarding the politics. So internet used as a political tool. Are you agreed? Are you shared anything regarding politics via the internet? Not only the government politics, even with regard, if boss says no leave for the next week, you will share it. If someone in the office said bad to you, then you will post a status. It's also politics. So we normally use internet as a political tool. Facebook and social media, we are normally using for those things because easy and they are reaching much community and they are very speedy and all are interconnected and not only interconnected, interactive. So internet as a political tool, it's very popular at the moment. So examples, what we discussed, one is Arab Spring, then the Thai political crisis in 2013 to 2014, and the change in January 8th. Also called these tools are being used. It's said in the internet, if you agree or not. So you can discuss whether it's happened or not. These are just things that I'm saying. So you can search on whether these are correct or not, if you can have either ideas. No, not responsible. We are using internet as a tool for politics. So
I
the
think,
events,
can I be very honest with you? The 2015 election, right? Both parties used internet, as a tool, and I think all tools are used when it comes to politics. Now, the very interesting part is the younger generation. I think the change of government came from the younger generation. Younger generation of the internet users, right, change the government. It's very, I have statistics, I can show that with very easily. I think internet is a tool. Even in the future, any election that going to come in the future, internet will be used. I'll tell you, there are some statistics. I have checked the statistics. The very interesting one is, now if you take Anuradhapura, Monaragala, on the contrary to what you believe, the previous government spent a lot of money on connecting, that means infrastructure, and giving internet to those like the south, the western province, and except for some of the areas, and those are the ones who changed the government last time. I'm telling you that it's very simple. I think you can do that in your simple mathematics. You take the 2005. Don't take 2010. 10 is not a good, good indicator, because there's a different other reasons. You take the 2005 elections and look at Western Province, Gaul, Matara, all of those southern provinces, southern province, the districts, and take a look at that, and look at the how many young voters had been there between 2005 and 2010. You take the 2010 and 2015, and you will see the difference that the President Maithripala Sirisena got is same as the number of new voters that who had entered into the who had basically very simple, who had registered for 2005 election. The exact numbers are there. You look at it and see. You can do the calculation. So which means, 2005, the difference, when you take it, that difference is equal to the difference that what MR got in 2005 and 2015. You can see the difference. You just do the subtract it, right? The number of new voters that had added it is equal to the votes that you got. It's a very simple. You do the calculation and see.
So what I said was, you can search
and
whether you can.
And another interesting one was, I did the same calculation, and I did the Monaragala, Anuradhapura, Kurunegala, all those districts. MR got more new. Basically, when you do the difference is more than President Maithripala Sirisena got. So the difference is more. You go and check, because although it looks like the Badulla you lost or whatever, right? The MR had lost, but really new votes, it had gone up. You check it and see, because that Badulla was less connected. So very interesting. There is a hypothesis we can build.
So in the internet governance space, so politics is almost there. So IG and politics, who governs the internet? We have discussed from all 2 days. Still we are thinking that we are governing the internet. Is that so? Still we believe that we can govern. But I can. Yeah, we can influence the government. in internet governance. So ICANN has almost, I believe, 90% of the governing part when it comes to everything. They have the multi-stakeholder approach. They use the multi-stakeholder approach within their system. With the Kelvin's presentation with the IG ecosystem, he explains how they manage the ICANN with the multi-stakeholder approach. This is one my query. Again, I think ISOC is a civil community and technical community. Yeah. With the IANA transition. It's inside the ICANN.
No, ISOC is.
No.
What's
Different.
it? They are different. These are organizations loosely coupled.
Loosely coupled.
Yeah. IETF is under ISOC. It is not a incorporated body. Yeah.
ISOC. ICANN is a registered body.
It's a registered incorporated body, which is running but the ISOC, the IETF, INI is now under ICANN.
ICANN.
But it is under ISOC also. Affiliate. Yes.
So
it's under ISOC affiliated with ICANN, right? Under.
There's an accountability process to the community.
Community also, right?
Yes.
So there's some connection.
So say for example, you have address support organization or country code name support organization. So these are all different communities, right? So there is a accountability process for all those different bodies, but it's an affiliate. So ICANN has got a relationship. So in fact, it's you can call it as a department of ICANN.
Yeah, because it's also not.
No, not ISOC. We are talking about
INI.
So the new entity is called PTI. Public Technical Identifiers.
How ICANN and IANA control the domain naming system and such.
I wouldn't say it's controlling.
Okay, manage. All right, so manage,
coordinate, or facilitate.
All right, so coordinate and facilitate.
Facilitate. Yeah.
But at the state level, that's a state function.
Yeah. Say for example, for country codes, ICANN does not have any contracts with, say, the CCTLDs because they are all sovereign countries, and ICANN do not get involved with the policies within certain countries. Yes.
It's like this. Now, if you take .lk, I'm on the .lk board. .lk, NIC, I'm on the board. It's a foundation. So the CCTLD, that's the .lk, is a foundation in Sri Lanka, incorporated. It's a .lk is actually a foundation in Sri Lanka, but the government had the ICANN, not ICANN, it's before ICANN actually. It has, in 1989, it had been delegated to Sri Lanka, right? With the government, there is a consent from the government. That means ICTA, now actually ICTA had given the consent to that the foundation to run it, or the foundation to have the CCTLD. So different countries have a different way of running it. Now Singapore has a different.
So there are different models. Talking about CCTLDs, of course, there are different models. Some CCTLDs are, government is involved. In some countries, it's a non-profit type of body. In some countries,
like what we have.
In some countries, even you have different models. Say, for example, the administration is run by one entity. The technical operation is run by another entity. So it depends. And in some countries, it's more of a multi-stakeholder model. So there are different models.
So the earlier we had that model. Administration was done by the apex body of the, it's called at that time Syntech. Then the administration, and the technical part was done by the University of Moratuwa. Then subsequently ICTA didn't want to have that responsibility. So actually, it was transferred to delegated to the foundation which was formed.
So if a government decides to disrupt the internet, does ICANN have any position on that or have any influence to say, hey, don't do that, you shouldn't do that, you're not allowed to do that? Right.
This is why ITU, that I would like to bring up that issue. China and several countries move a motion that the ITU would, the governments would have much more bigger control. In Dubai, in the ITU, yes. So they are actually, but then it didn't work out that way. Subsequently, in Korea, which I was there in person, and they had worked out a methodology. Right now, still is a UN, so it's not that governments actually have right now. Still, what they proposed actually didn't work out. But Sri Lanka voted with that government in 2011, I think. Sri Lanka voted for that. The government has more control.
ITU means International American ITF is the body, it's the multi-stakeholder.
No, IETF has no.
ITF
is doing the similar stuff.
Yeah. So now the internet standards are developed by IETF.
Yes. So ITU wanted to do maybe a father role in the internet also, but it didn't work out. That's how I saw it. Isn't it?
IETF is just a standard body.
Yeah.
Which is under ISOC.
Yeah, ISOC and IETF both, I mean.
But
yeah, it's registered in California.
Regarding politics, that's what I'm asking. I'm curious about that.
Legal point of view.
Yes.
Perspective. As I told you about the Facebook, right? The jurisdiction that is applicable, that means any lawsuit, it will be the Californian law.
Yeah. So the whole point. Yeah, whole point of that's what the IANA transition that I was talking about. So IANA. Previously, there was NTIA. So NTIA is the basically the U.S. government or the Department of Commerce, basically. So there was a contract between NTIA and IANA before. So basically, U.S. government and IANA. Now, so that is why in the last few years, the community has been working on a proposal to actually, that contract, when the contract expires. So what sort of model that we can transition into? So that was discussed. And so basically, the last September 30th, actually, that contract ended. So from 1st of October, basically a new, because all these different communities, different community groups and so on. So we have facilitated that. So they have come up with a proposal and that was given to the US government, and then they have reviewed. And so now that contract, so from 1st of October, so that contract, basically, that was no longer there. And so if you take currently, that is why now there is no any such contract with the IANA and the US government. So that is also why actually there is no such entity called IANA now, right? So, a new entity has to be created called PTI. So which is supposed, in fact, it was supposed to be kind of post-transition.
Was IANA incorporated body?
Yeah, because IANA was formed before ICANN.
Yeah, but it was not an incorporated body. I think.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not.
Department
really
of Commerce actually came up. There was an incorporated body in somewhere in '94.
Mhm.
NI. There was a body. Then ICANN came in.
Yeah,
so
ICANN was
the contract was between the Department of Commerce and the ICANN. I thought.
Yeah, so because then later IANA was brought under ICANN.
And ICANN.
Yes. So that's why, of course, there was that relationship, and IANA was the operational body. So so that's also why there were all these discussions about having that contract with certain government.
So at the moment, there is no contract between the Department of Commerce and the.
No, from 1st of October 2016, it doesn't exist anymore. So now PTI is an affiliate. So as I said, it's a multi-stakeholder model now, and
so the delegation had happened.
Yeah,
because the Department of Commerce has earlier it's a DOD, then the Department of Commerce, then it was delegated to run, and then now
NTIA.
It's no more.
So NTIA has not. NTIA does not have any role now. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very loose. Totally now.
Okay. So, what is the most important resources as we discussed yesterday? Can you remember? Gold? Is it gold? Is it something else? What is the most valuable resources? It's data. So, where is our data now? Most of the data in Google, in the Facebook, in our mobiles. So, again, my question is there. You can try to answer. The jurisdiction are almost in the US states. So we discussed about that.
No, by the way, Sri Lankan, there is a particular consensus in Sri Lanka, right? There was earlier government data should not reside outside of the jurisdiction of Sri Lanka. No, it is there. It's still today, except the fact there are some people are trying. That's why a lot of these data is directed to you, to the Sri Lanka Telecom, and the except for few places, the cloud actually. So this question had come up and had been talked about and discussed and negotiated, and the government rule is basically accepted norm is that government data should not reside outside the Sri Lankan jurisdiction. Okay, so that is because of the fact that still we are not really sure. So therefore, ICT has come up with government cloud. So that's been now built, and Sri Lanka Telecom also has a cloud. So at the moment, Sri Lanka Telecom is a semi-government organization where the government owns 49% of the company. So a lot of the time that we sometimes I as a consultant, government consultant, sometimes would be much more comfortable with having the data with Sri Lanka Telecom. So yesterday I had a discussion for a very important project. I was at the ICTA, and we were talking about the government cloud as a data repository. Supreme Court, we had done the computerization. Data is with the government cloud. So all of that data, except there are some organizations they have taken on their own and taken outside of the country. So which I'm not sure what's up.
Okay.
Sorry. I guess my time limit is up here, but no. What I was just going to say is that philosophically, this is the big question of our time, and especially for the younger people. this is the great philosophical question of our time. And as we move in further to this century, because everything is now big data, and we have the Internet of Things, and we all have mobile phones. So now we have this question of who controls your data, who gets to do what with it. And your data essentially is your identity, because this, has a lot of things about our lives and what we do and who we associate with. And so what's the relationship between the government and the social media companies about regulating that data so that you get the convenience of the services that the data provides, but that you're not manipulated or coerced or influenced into doing things you don't want to do, or that the data is used against you?
I want to clarify one thing. For an example, when we register on Facebook, we agree their policy. Nobody read the policies. Just scroll down the page, tick that checkbox, and press
That's
the
where
sign.
you have the $75.
Press that sign up button. So people think, oh, we can't get something for nothing. We want to give something to them to serve us. So, for example, we are paying a big amount of money for Apple for giving the iCloud and something like that, privacy things, high protected privacies. Another thing is, for example, Android is open source. Nobody paid for it. Just install that on their hardware. So how Google earned from that? We already agreed that policy. We are giving our data, what we are searching, what we are like, what is our favorite things. So they are getting that from us. That they are using for big data. For example, another example, we are using several type of messaging platforms. I don't describe that what it is, the brands. There are so many brands. And these people don't take single dollar from us. But how they earn from that?
Can I ask you a question from you?
Yeah.
You read newspapers, right?
Yeah.
Very simple. You think a newspaper can be given for 20 rupees? That means 20 rupees, right? You buy a newspaper, 20 or 30 rupees that you will buy a newspaper. You are paying something. No? You are buying a newspaper. If you look at a circulation, let's say 100,000. Okay, the TV channel even. Like you take Hiru, right? You watch Hiru, right? Who pays for Hiru? You're getting free. So who pays? It's paid because of the fact that a lot of people watch. There is this is the great thing about it, right? You are actually paying. You don't realize this. How do you pay? There are a lot of people like to advertise. So if there is a huge audience, it's something that we have found out about 100, 200 years back. So what happened is you go and buy a product, you are paying for that advertising. That advertising rupee comes to your to Hiru as advertisements. Yeah. So the more people, the more the Hiru is watched, the more products are sold. So therefore, you are paying it indirectly. So the same thing applies to your Google. Same thing applies to your whatever the things that you're doing. It's the advertising dollar that makes things work, right? So it's really interesting, but you don't realize it. You are paying for it.
Yeah, we are paying for it. We are just paying for it. And for example, I type something about I want to buy an iPhone on the messaging platform. I send that message to my friend. When I went to Google for search something like that or another thing, I will see iPhone ad. because the big data, they are collecting our data that we are paying for them. That we are paying for them. That's it.
You are paying indirectly, but now the difference is Google is a worldwide, it's a multinational. So not only you are paying, there are so many millions of people are paying for that. So therefore, that's why it's a $1 billion company. Hero is not a $1 billion company. It's a $1 billion company because it's a multinational.
I think someone doesn't like what I'm saying. One of the ways I heard Google described once, I thought it was interesting, is that Google really is a marketplace to connect buyers and sellers. So you are the buyer, Google is the seller. Google is looking to match you with products and services that you will buy. So that's the purpose of Google, is to match buyers and sellers, essentially. So the data they collect on you is used to sell to advertisers to sell you things.
There is a much more effective. The Google is more effective. They know you better than Hero knows you. I'll tell you what. Because the way that you search, that those patterns are with the Google. So when they basically the products, when they advertise, they know effectively to send it to the ones that who are actually. Now when you do that on Hero or the TV station, what happens is it's a broadcast. Everybody watches, but that it may not even reach the targets, right? So what happens is, but the Google knows who the target is. So therefore, they can target you. Now that is done by a television stations differently. I think you must be knowing soap operas, right? I mean soaps in the United States. Soap opera. Yeah. So they have earlier. How it happened was in the United States. The housewives used to basically watch in the after lunch hour, right? Used to watch a lot of these the movies which were on the TV. I'm just going to say movies like what you call teledramas. So these are called soap operas in the United States, because they used to have a soap advertisements because they are only the housewives are watching this, so the soap advertisements on there, they are called soap operas. So what I'm trying to say basically this. So they knew the targets. So what the television does it, they know who watch at what time. So then they target advertisements to that target audience. So that's how they did it. Not Google is doing much more advanced. Facebook is doing more advanced right now. So in the future, Google is much bigger multinational who can control millions of people. Let me tell you like this. Google can, in the future, now imagine, Google can, in the future, can sell, in the sense like can come to a government and say to a political leader, I will make sure that you will be the next president of Sri Lanka. They can say it very easily. You know why? They know, right? Okay? That's right. Yeah.
For example, I want to sell the iPhone. If a farmer cannot afford it, I only want to show that to who can afford it, who's searching about iPhone. So other mediums can show that to all the people.
Now the danger is not that.
Yeah.
They can influence.
Yeah.
What they can come and say, I will take $1 billion from you. I will make you the next president of this country.
Yeah,
how about that?
It's a good thing, because target audience get the right results.
Is it a good thing?
Yeah, it's a good thing. I don't disagree that.
So Google will get $1 billion.
Yeah.
And they will come and put in your mind, he would be the best president, whoever.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I think
My
so.
God, I'm
But I don't think nobody can get a.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Sir, government cloud, and but is there any plan to implement a government cloud?
We already have a government cloud.
You are using the local technology or foreign technology?
Right. Well, I will. Whether it's a foreign technology means we are not. I mean, foreign technology means you are buying.
You are not developing a cloud, no, in Sri Lanka.
We are developing right now. ICT has developed. Even them, they also have a cloud. They have purchased, in the sense they may have purchased what you call the virtual server softwares, whatever the software.
That is a foreign technology.
Well, there is nothing foreign or local.
No,
I'll tell you.
No.
Yeah.
There is a purchasing means from the outside from Sri Lanka.
Yes.
Okay. Then how do you assure that that in that software there may be some backends to log into the
backdoors?
Backdoors.
Yes.
How do you?
Let me tell you something about which I don't think I will now going to reveal you. Something very very important right now, which I don't think that none of the Sri Lankans know about this. Well, certain parts I can't talk about it, right? There are some firewalls in the government for the last many years. We have built our own firewalls. We had never given the backdoors to, I can't reveal some of what I'm talking about is the national security. Some of the backdoors are, because of those problems, there are certain government institutions that we had handled at the University of Colombo. We had developed our own firewalls to run it. I don't think they even know this. Some of the very critical ones, right? I know the problem, but there is a very interesting part about it. We can develop our own VPNs, our own technology, because there is something called open source, yes. Free and open source. So a lot of these tools had come through because we don't develop from the scratch. We develop from particular point onwards.
It's the customizing.
Yes, customization, and also some of that source code is actually with us. So as the Sri Lankan government, right? There are certain things had been done in Sri Lanka for our own security. So let me, I will again repeat you what you have asked the question, but that doesn't mean, now there may be a backdoor, so some of the firewalls may have backdoors, right? That doesn't mean that the government, that also can be certain monitoring can be done. There are ways of doing this, and we have the technology in Sri Lanka. So don't worry about, we have thought about it for the last 20 years. And that has been implemented in Sri Lanka. I can't talk about further anymore because there's an issue of a national security.
So as we are running out of time, we are getting to almost 2 o'clock. So I'm going to finish my presentation with 1 or 2 slides. I will just to make you know what my ambition was. So here in this slide, democracy and multi-stakeholderism. This model enhances democracy by increasing opportunities for effective participation. That's what we did here in the Internet Governance Forum, where that you are participated, where you have to be discussed and you can be engaged in development of policies. So I say, get into politics. We want you. That's why these kind of platforms are creating. So IGF is a platform to engage you to policy development over internet governance. So that's why we invited you to be part of this community. So so now it's 1:43. So I think if I not stop this session now, you may go away from us, because we are having the youth IGF after this session. So we are going to start by 2:15. So please be kind enough to be here by 2:15. We'll try to end that session by 4 o'clock. So where that you can go your home, and tomorrow is the main session. We are evaluating you. We have some gift ready for you, and awards and also certificates. The award ceremony will be taking place tomorrow, 5 p.m. So it will take 30 minutes time. So after the main IGF,